Happy Mother's Day, homeschool mamas. Do you have your tea? I finally changed up my teacup for a glass of mint and some berries. I have it sitting here all the last week, and I will for another week because we are having every day, we're having live chats, live teas with various homeschool moms that are helping as supports for homeschool moms across the interweb. So I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to be chatting with Kelsey Sorenson from the Wife Teacher Mommy account. And I'm going to introduce you to her in just a moment, but make sure to sign up for the giveaway. You'll see a giveaway at the very top pinned to my account. I'm going to be offering a variety of things like the Calmer Kids Secure. They're like earplugs for kids to soften noises so they're not so harsh for kids. I've got my very favorite chocolate, like I always have this chocolate in my bedside table, dark chocolate sea salt lint, and a journal, because it's what I do is I create resources designed for homeschool parents. Specifically journals that actually are like this. They are in color paper print. I just recently offered the wellness guide for homeschool moms. It's about a 25-page guide that can be used for all the different elements of your homeschool wellness journey. I have different topics like the Deschool Your Homeschool Guide, which is a topic that I'll be discussing at Kelsey Sorenson's conference, Wife Teacher Mommy, or it's Educate and Rejuvenate, if I'm saying that right. And also I am offering a signed copy of A Little More Beautiful, which is a storybook for kids, and it is specifically signed by Read Aloud Revival's Sarah Mackenzie, who gave me a gift. I had her on my podcast, and I've had her in a variety of different scenarios where I've been chatting with her, and a beautiful book. It's an absolutely stunning book, and a few other goodies. So please don't forget to jump into the giveaway. And of course, I'm including my own book. Okay, so enough about the giveaway. I wish every single one of you a happy Mother's Day from Western Canada. I'm a British Columbian homeschool mom of a couple decades, turned homeschool life coach, podcaster, person that apparently goes on IG Lives quite regularly, and much to my teenage kids' surprise, and also a writer. I want to introduce you to Kelsey Sorenson, and it is my first opportunity to have a live chat, and I'm so glad you're here, Kelsey.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
Hey,
Thank
nice
you for having me.
to see you live. That is
You
amazing. So glad
too.
to finally meet you. So for our audience, or my audience, would you introduce yourself
Yeah,
so
so I'm
everyone gets to connect
Kelsey
with you too?
Sorenson. I am a former teacher turned homeschool parent. I'm also a certified life coach and a resource creator, much like you are. And I just love to collaborate with other people and we all bring our own strengths
You.
to the table. And I host virtual conferences, which is how we connected. I host the Educate and Rejuvenate conference, which is a lot of fun. We get together, we have sessions with a variety of incredible presenters. We have a teacher track and a homeschool track,
Yeah,
because I started out like supporting teachers, but as I became a homeschool mom myself, I really wanted to
yep,
bring the homeschoolers in too. And I believe that we can learn from each other. Like homeschool moms can definitely learn teaching strategies
absolutely.
from teachers.
Yeah, I think we lost you. I am just going to wait a moment to see if Kelsey jumps back in. So if you caught that, actually, Kelsey was a teacher before she was homeschooling her own kids. And I would love to hear her journey from moving into homeschooling and then moving into the online world. She is really doing amazing things and offerings for all sorts of different people, whether they're home educators or schooled educators. And I am putting it back up here.
I'm sorry about that. I'm going to go in my house in case it's a better internet connection than in my office. So I have like an external office, which is really cool. So like I get to go there and work, and the kids are inside. So my transition from teaching started when I had my first child, actually. So I wanted to work more part-time. Sorry, I think the internet will work better in here. I was teaching full-time, but then I decided to come home and sub so I could be with my oldest more. This was 9 years ago. He's 9 now. Yeah. And so I was subbing, and then I realized, I've been on the teacher side where, planning for sub is like, imagine like having to plan a full day for somebody else, like for your homeschool or whatever. Luckily, like with us homeschool mamas, we usually just are like, let's just watch like something educational today. But you are a teacher, you need to put together a full 8 hours of lesson plans, basically. So as I was subbing, I realized that some of them needed a little bit more to leave for me, because I would be left in bed. This is supposed to last all day. And luckily I've been a teacher. I could figure it out. I can wing it, But I started making sub plans and putting them on Teachers Pay Teachers. And more so I would have something to bring with me. And then I'm like, well, if I can make a little extra, I had gone from full-time to part-time, So I'm like, that could be a way for me to earn money from home. And that just kind of took off. And then eventually it was like, years later, fast forward years later, I was like, I want to support homeschool moms too. How can I do that? Because like we're known for sub plans. That's not really what homeschoolers are looking for, like I mentioned, but then this was like 2019. I started homeschooling. I need to figure out a way. And then the pandemic happened. So then the pandemic happened, and then suddenly our sub plans weren't even usable at the time anyway, because schools were closed. So we had to figure out a way to pivot, and we made home learning packets, and we marketed them towards both parents and teachers. And that was a way for us, like both of them loved them. Like we had parents who we brought in, both homeschool parents and just parents who would normally send their kids to school, and they're like, what do we do? So we kind of pivoted into that. And then as we kind of launched our membership and everything, we realized that teachers need more for self-care and everything, kind of like you offer. And it was in 2020, I started working with a coach, and I realized that a lot of our both homeschool parents and teachers in our audience, they did not know all these things I'd learned from working with a coach. And I was not a coach personally at that time yet. I hired a coach to come in and be our coach. But then, that held me over for a little bit until I also got certified as a coach. So now
that is cool that we met until now then, because our stories, even the timelines, I mean, obviously I've been parenting for a while, but other than that, I'm like, our timelines are really similar.
I'd hear more about yours too.
I mean, I was 2019, no, not 2019. I wrote a book in 2019, the one that I'm giving away, Self-Care, Nurturing the Nurturer. And then the next, I think it was February, was my very first podcast episode. So I got cozy in my closet, and then perfect timing. And then I published the book somewhere March, April. I'd already done coaching for a long time. But as you just said, the word of 2020, pivot. And then everything shifted online and full engagement in a way that I hadn't before. And I remember saying to a publisher, I don't know if this is the right time to publish a book on self-care for homeschool moms. I was thinking, but she's like, what? Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's amazing. Our timelines are really similar. So where are you coming from?
Salt Lake City, Utah area. It's been so fun connecting with people from all over, working on people. There's not the boundaries of, who lives close to you or whatever.
Yeah, which would be literally the bears, beavers, and the bald eagles, because I live in Canadiana, stereotype Canadiana, but it's beautiful. And I also have human neighbors about a mile away. Cool. So I'd love to hear your homeschool story then. Your homeschool story started.
Well, no, because he's 9 years old, so he was a baby. But we homeschooled from the beginning with him. Well, I mean, I guess I sent him to preschool, but that was more because I wanted him to go with his friends. It was in the neighborhood. I was pretty much still homeschooling preschool with him too. He just kind of got double. But kindergarten, So kindergarten
Yeah.
on, he's in third grade. So we've homeschooled. I actually kind of had a
Yeah.
hard time with the decision, funny enough, even though I'm a licensed teacher, because mainly because at the time I was worried. I'm sure you've heard this. I was worried about what people would think.
Ah, you know what? A lot of teachers haven't told me that, but I have never heard a teacher say, I really wanted my child to be in the classroom.
Oh,
I haven't heard
funny
that
how a lot of former teachers do become homeschool parents, like if they stay home, So very interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what you thought was the
I
thing
was
that
worried
you
just
were
about what
occupied with?
people would think about, like, I'm not letting my kids get socialized or all this stuff I knew wasn't true. I was like, I don't want to have to justify myself to anyone else. And at that time, I had not found coaching yet and all the tools that I now know, that I'm like, oh, like, well, that's just like their own thing. Like if they think anything about it, like it matters what
Yeah.
I think about it. But at that time I was not in that headspace. So
Amen.
that was a worry for me, but we went ahead with it. And then I was very glad, because then 2020 happened and everyone was sent home anyway, and it didn't really throw off, like, my business routine was really thrown off, but our school routine was not, because we were already home. We were homeschooled. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine if both routines would have been thrown off at the same time. So that was definitely like a blessing for me, for sure.
Yeah. So then you moved into homeschooling more. Well, you're already homeschooling for a year, you said, and then you started doing your online stuff a little bit more
Yeah, well,
robustly.
it was all already
Is that
online.
right?
We just kind of pivoted more towards not just sub plans. Like it was like, okay, now we are
Oh,
supporting parents too, and we're like doing events and coaching and really expanding,
and you are
expanding.
doing
Yeah,
amazing. You're all
that's
over the
what
place.
Facebook
I
ads
can.
will do for you.
Okay.
It was like all the money.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, it's working. Curious. This last year with your homeschool kids, what have you learned from your homeschooled kids, or what have
I
you
think
learned about your
just like
homeschool
being
kids?
flexible, and you know the great thing
Yeah.
about homeschooling is that you can figure out what they need and their interests and really tailor it to them. And I feel like, I mean, and I've always known that, but I feel like this year has been even more like, as my kids are getting older, and just seeing how we can teach things in very like different ways than I did when I was in the classroom, like much more individualized. And that has been a lot of fun and kind of another learning experience. Like you mentioned, like we're lifelong learners as teachers, as parents, as all the things, and just learning different ways to, like, this is a different setting than the classroom, and I don't have to make it look like school at home. I feel like, coming as a former teacher, a lot of former teachers have a harder time in general of making it not look like school at home, because like for years your routine was teaching in a classroom. Like you weren't like a student, but you were the teacher.
Yeah.
That's how you taught. So just finding that flexibility more, getting in that groove. For me also, it's been knowing my limits, because for
Yeah.
like, actually, so my business, I'm full-time like in this, and my husband is home supporting me and the kids and everything. For a while I was doing all the homeschooling and all the work, and he was just there to watch the kids when I needed help. Well, I ran everything. And I just kind
Ah.
of realized, I'm like, you know what, you can help do
Yeah.
some of this too, like the school and everything, and even like some in the business. So like, I think just
Yeah.
like asking for help when needed and knowing my limits, like this is how much I can do. I can do this much. Can you help with this part? Has been a good learning experience for me, and like balancing in our marriage and our family and everything, and becoming more like partners. And it wasn't even him, it was me being like, well, I need to do it all because I'm the homeschool mom, and like wanting that identity. And it's like, I'm still a homeschool mom, even though he's a homeschool dad too. That doesn't negate that.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big role to carry. And then everything shifted in
Mhm.
the way you were engaging things. So that's a lot to sift through. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you really got me thinking in all sorts of areas. So I'm going to be actually speaking at your conference about deschooling your homeschool so you can live your life on purpose. And entirely coincidentally, I just published a post today on that topic. And so when you were like, it was, I'm not that coordinated, so I can't actually make it happen all at the same time. But it really has got me thinking about how we get out of the conventional educational box and we do things so radically different than we ever thought. There's times where I say things to people and I realize that I'm probably freaking them out when I'm saying, like, are natural born learners. We have to stop forcing them to learn things. And then people are like, wait, what? So what? And then even I hear myself and go, I am post-secondary educated, married to someone who has graduate education. And it's not that I'm anti-school. I'm absolutely not anti-school. But at the time, like, is what we're doing serving our kids? Is it really serving the child in front of us? Because we aren't raising up a system of education. We're raising up our specific children. And what happens when we raise up our specific children to become fully who they were meant to be, to do the things they were meant to do? Our world is filled with a lot of interesting stuff and some creativity when we really encourage people to do their thing. Yeah. So I just get caught up in my post and what I was going to share with you on your conference or in your conference. But two thoughts right quickly is, one, would you share before I ask you about how we can focus on our homeschool mom wins, and then you share a little bit about your conference, when it is, and how people can find
I'm really
it.
excited for your session. I can't wait to watch that myself. Like I mentioned, it's kind of like, finding that groove and everything. I can't watch that. But anyways, so Educate Rejuvenate. The main 2 days are June 27th and 28th. So June, super exciting. But you'll have 10 full days. So starting that Friday before, to watch all these pre-recorded sessions from amazing educators, both homeschool parents and teachers. And I believe that teachers, like I mentioned, like, we can learn from each other. So you can pick one track and stick to it, or you can mix and match. Learn whatever you want from whoever you want. There are so many options, so many amazing people that you can learn from. And we also have 2 incredible keynotes. We have Christina Kuzmich, who is phenomenal. She's had over 1 billion video views. She's just inspiring, funny, and I mean, I'm still pinching myself that she's a keynote at the event, honestly. And then we have Joe Dombrowski, who is also a hilarious comedian. You may have seen that viral video with the spelling test and the fake spelling words for April Fool's Day. Have you seen that one?
No, I actually don't do social media unless I have
quite a few years ago. But yeah, it was a really funny one. You should look it up, like, on YouTube or something, because it's really funny, and he's hilarious. But his keynote is also going to be funny and inspiring. So we kind of bring the humor in too, because I think a good laugh is important. Like, this event is all about balance. Like, we've got mindset, we've got quite a few life coaches this year, which I'm so excited about, because, like, I'm all about life coaching. Teacher life coaches, homeschool life coaches. We've got, experts in, like, the science of reading. We've got experts in science. We've got experts in comprehension and math and artificial intelligence, like, all the things, like, whatever you could want to learn about to streamline and, learn new things for next year, you could probably find something there. And the goal of it isn't to be like, I need to do absolutely everything. You're going to get overwhelmed if you try to do that. But just come in with, like, what is it you want to get out of it, and find the relations and get the golden nuggets, and then figure out what works for you and how that can help kind of relight that fire. And really, for me, when I go to an event, I learn things, I implement them, but it's also just that energy that you get from attending an event, and the community and just the inspiration. Like, you might have an amazing, inspiring idea watching a session that had nothing to do with the words they were saying. It's just that you put aside this intention to come to this event and set aside that time, and it frees, like, your brain space is just in a different space, basically,
Metaphysics. We got to get into metaphysics for homeschool families. That's what I think. There is a thing there. Yeah, quantum physics, not metaphysics. Energy. We're receiving energy from other people. It's a thing.
Like, 100%. Every event I've gone to, whether it's teaching related or business or just a coaching event, I all feel so inspired, so uplifted, and I feel like that is honestly one of the best parts.
I can do this. That's the energy. I can do this.
Conference is so affordable. It's only $19. Like, if you look at either just those individual keynotes, to see either of them individually would normally cost more than that. So it's just such a good deal. We've also got, I didn't mention, we have workouts. Like I mentioned, we want balance. We've got a strength workout one day. We've got a yoga and meditation the other day. Oh,
so cool.
All about
that is
balance. Cool. We've got coaching, all the things. So
yeah, that's amazing. So when you were thinking as a topic, discussing quick wins for homeschool moms or focusing on our wins, are you thinking about that coming from an angle of your personal wins in your homeschool? Or are you seeing that
Yeah,
for
well,
other homeschool
I
moms
think
as well?
everybody, any homeschool mom, you can look at like each day and look at like what are the 3 wins that I've had from today or whatever. Like what are the amazing things I've done? Because I think so often we look at when we judge ourselves based on like where we want to go, and it's great to have a vision where you want to go. But if you
Yeah.
ever take the time to look back at where you used to
Yeah.
be, like when you're like, maybe I should homeschool. Should I homeschool? Like if I were to look back and be like, remember when I was scared to tell people I wanted to homeschool, and now I'm like preaching it from the rooftops, like on my podcast, I'm a homeschool mom, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, look how far you've come. Like, and
Yeah.
for you, whatever that is for you, just think about where you were a few years ago compared to where you are now, and it'll help you put things in perspective, because so often we're just like, oh, I didn't finish my to-do list today. And maybe you put many things on that to-do list. Like,
Yeah.
who says you had to get all those things done, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yourself where that's coming from. Do you know, when I was early in my homeschool days, before I picked up a book that actually convinced me to homeschool, and my intention was to get the arguments against homeschooling. But so I pick up this book, and the biggest question I had, the biggest concern I had, besides I don't have time for this, is,
Yeah.
but what about socialization?
Big one.
I thought, yeah. Yeah. Now I'm like, no, actually, I think that's the number one benefit. But anyway, that's a different discussion. Yeah. So then looking back at what we know in hindsight, like I can look back 20 years and I go, okay, but no, I wasn't implanted with the brain I have now. I don't know if it really will all turn out right. Just because you're saying it will turn out right on Instagram, like I don't know that it'll all be okay. And I really do understand that. And also, sometimes it requires some massive learning curves, especially
Yeah.
mostly of ourselves as homeschoolers, to look at ourselves and say, okay, what do I need to learn? Not just about learning, although definitely that, but also about ourselves and how we're showing up and why we're showing up as we're showing up. But we also need to look back and say, okay, have you ever been in a space where you didn't know what you needed to know, and then you moved into the thing, and then you were mastering that thing? And you probably were at some point, like you learned to ride a bike, you learned to write, you learned to do all sorts of different things. And it wasn't easy in the beginning, and now it is. So yeah, focusing on the wins, the things that they're really good at. Homeschool moms, not just the kids,
Yourself,
but also
because it's
homeschool
easy
moms.
for us to like
Yeah,
look at what our kids are doing or to encourage them to do that, but it's harder to
yeah.
encourage ourselves.
That was part of why I asked each of the homeschool moms I'm not sure when I gave you the questions, but one of them was like, what's your 10% edge? What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? And, you know, it's hard sometimes for us to answer that question because we're like, oh, that sounds boastful. And I do understand that. And it is also uncomfortable for me to answer it if
Yeah.
I'm asked maybe a certain way, but also it's accurate. We all have these real strong suits or this strong thing. And I don't know you very well, but I do know that you're doing a lot online. So you're clearly very good at multitasking and the ability to connect with people, really listen to people. What would you say your ability or your maybe 10% edge is, the thing that you're
I would
exceptionally
just
good
say
at?
I have a wide variety of like creative, out of the box ideas, and I just like roll with it and not afraid to
Yeah.
try something new. Sorry, my kids are walking in now since I'm not in my office. But yeah, I would say that is definitely. Hi, Bree. You want to say hi quick? Hey, I'll close the door
Nice to
and shut
see
it.
you.
Thank
Hi.
you. Sorry. But yeah, I would say that's probably my 10% edge, like with business and life, or just willing to try all the things and, you know, not be afraid of if it doesn't work, because, you know, I've had successes, I've had massive failures
Yeah.
as well. So I think that's just something you have to be willing to do, you know?
It's cliche, but it's true. That story of Thomas Edison. And he has, I don't remember, a million ways that he knows how a light bulb doesn't work.
Yeah.
Anyone. There are a lot of little failures along the way, but if you never take a risk, it's also a Brene Brown concept, right? Like if you don't take that risk and throw your hat in the ring, then are you going to really know whether or not you accomplished something? You're going to fail sometime. So you're saying
Yep.
fail and keep
Yeah.
going and keep learning and growing? Yeah, amazing. Yeah, beautiful. And same thing for all the homeschool moms out there to focus
Yep.
on our wins.
Yeah. All we can all do that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Is there any last words of
That
encouragement
you're
that you'd
doing
like to share?
amazing. The fact that you're watching this Instagram live and you're on here means that you care about your self-care and your kids and all the things, and just, you know, give yourself lots of grace and look at those wins. You can do it. And I hope to see you at Educate and Rejuvenate.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here. I'll let you go back. And thanks, Kelsey.
Happy
Thanks,
Mother's
everybody. Happy
Day.
Mother's Day.